Just hours after BTS's Jungkook was officially discharged from mandatory military service on June 11, 2025, what should have been a day of joy and quiet reunion quickly turned into a chilling reminder that fame can be as dangerous as it is glamorous. Sasaeng, an obsessive fan known for stalking K-pop idols, was arrested for attempting to break into Jungkook's private residence mere hours after his return home. The incident has since shaken fans, sparked outrage, and reignited debates about privacy, celebrity worship, and the psychological toll it takes not only on idols, but on their families. But one voice, until now, has been missing from the global conversation. According to sources close to the family, Jungkook's mother was present at the time of the break-in attempt. Local reports confirm that she was the one who first noticed the suspicious figure attempting to enter the premises and immediately alerted authorities. No physical harm occurred, but emotional scars were left behind. She was terrified, a neighbor allegedly stated. She kept saying, "He just came home, please, just let him rest." This moment, raw, quiet, and haunting, has now become the emotional centerpiece of a larger crisis engulfing not just Jungkook, but the entire idol industry. Fans often see K-pop idols as larger-than-life beings. But behind every superstar is a parent, someone who raised a child before the world claimed him as theirs. For Jungkook's mother, watching her son return home after nearly 2 years of military service should have been a moment of pride and relief. Instead, it became a nightmarish reminder. Her son isn't just a singer. He's a target. She doesn't often speak publicly, one close family acquaintance shared. But after the incident, she said something that stuck with me. He gave the world everything. Why won't they give him peace in return? The heartbreak is palpable, and it speaks to a darker truth the industry often ignores. This wasn't the first time Jungkook addressed obsessive fan behavior. Back in December 2023, he made a rare and firm statement asking fans not to send food to his home. He warned that he would take legal action if the invasion of his personal space continued. "This is where I live," he said then. "This is where I breathe. Please respect that." His request was clear, direct, and filled with quiet desperation. But as the latest Sasaeng incident shows, the line between admiration and obsession continues to blur, often with terrifying consequences. The incident has also raised critical questions about the failure of current security measures to protect idols and their families. While Jungkook's home is known to be protected by surveillance and private security, that didn't stop Sasaeng from trying to force their way in. If an idol as globally known and powerful as Jungkook can't feel safe in his own home, one journalist tweeted, "What hope do others have?" Fans, too, are expressing outrage, not just at the Sasaeng, but at the machinery around K-pop that profits from idol exposure without ensuring their protection. Reports suggest that Jungkook's mother has since avoided staying at the house alone. She has allegedly requested additional security and even suggested that Jungkook consider relocating again for safety, a decision that would be difficult, considering how little time he has had to rest and readjust after 2 years of disciplined service. She just wants to sit with him, a family friend said, to talk, to eat with him, to hear his voice without wondering if someone is outside the window watching. It's a plea not of a superstar's family, but of a mother. A mother tired of seeing her son hunted, not loved, exposed, not protected. Jungkook's silence since his discharge has only fueled public speculation. Many fans believe the incident has deeply shaken him. Others wonder if his quiet withdrawal from social media is more than just a break. It may be the beginning of a slow, painful reckoning with fame itself. And as always, his mother watches from the sidelines, helpless in the face of a world that praises her son's every move but refuses to give him peace when he needs it most. "I've seen him cry from exhaustion," she once told a magazine years ago. But he never shows that to the world. He always smiles for them. But how long can someone keep smiling when their sanctuary, their home, has become a stage for danger? The images of idols surrounded by screaming fans, dazzling lights, and confetti showers often paint a picture of invincibility. But strip away the performances, the choreographed perfection, the glamour of international fame, and what remains is something fragile. Something often forgotten, a mother, waiting at home. Jungkook's mother had likely counted the days. Like any parent, she may have marked a calendar, waiting for that one moment when her son would walk through the door, no longer under the strict eyes of military officers, no longer sleeping in barracks, no longer just a soldier, but her child again, her baby, her Jungkook. But when the door opened and the uniform came off, peace did not follow. Instead, chaos crept in, fast, invasive, and cruel. A Sasaeng, driven by a disturbing sense of entitlement, shattered the safety of that moment. And while the headlines may focus on Jungkook, the emotional epicenter of this violation is not just him, but the woman who opened that door, expecting to embrace her son, and instead was forced to face a stranger. In that moment, whatever joy she had been holding in her chest for 2 years, gone. Whatever sigh of relief she thought she could finally breathe, cut short by fear. And now, as Jungkook retreats into silence, his mother does the same. Not because she has nothing to say, but because she knows no one is truly listening. In the din of headlines, fan cams, and trending hashtags, the sound of a mother's heart breaking rarely echoes far. But if it did, it would sound something like this. Please stop. My son just wants to rest. This isn't just about one Sasaeng. This is about a culture of hyperconsumption that encourages fans to feel ownership over people they do not know. It is about the commercialization of vulnerability, the expectation that idols owe access in exchange for love. Jungkook has given his voice, his youth, his energy, his very self to the world for over a decade. And now, in his first few hours of freedom, he finds that the world won't even give him sleep. His mother, who once walked him to auditions, who fed him before training days, who probably worried every night he was on tour, is now expected to smile while strangers violate their home. But there is no smile here. There is only trembling. There is only a quiet sense of betrayal. That even after everything he has given, the world is still asking for more. Asking to see into their windows, to get just a little closer, to reach past the boundary and touch something they were never meant to. This is not affection. This is invasion. And the ones left picking up the emotional wreckage are not only the idols, but their families. And so, Jungkook's mother stays out of sight. Not because she is weak, but because she knows the power of silence. She doesn't need interviews. She doesn't need press releases. Her words, even whispered, carry more weight than any statement from an agency. He just wants to rest. Let that be enough. In a world that sells idols as public property, maybe it's time to remember that behind every global sensation is someone's child. Someone who once held them through nightmares, who now wakes up from new ones because fame has crossed a sacred threshold. And if we truly care about Jungkook, not the performer, not the celebrity, but the person, then perhaps our most loving act is not to cheer louder or trend faster, but to step back, give space, give silence, give peace. Because if the price of our admiration is a mother living in fear, a son afraid to come home, and a heart too tired to beat freely, then we've stopped being fans. We've become part of the problem. Let this be a turning point, not just for Jungkook, but for how we love our idols. Let this be the last time a mother has to plead in the shadows for a world to leave her son alone. And let this moment, this cry behind closed doors, be heard loud enough that it never has to be repeated again. He gave us his voice, his life, his light. Now, we give him what he asked for, what his mother asked for. Not applause, not praise, not obsession. Just rest and peace at last. And yet, even as the world turns its attention to the next trending idol, the next viral dance challenge, or the next glossy comeback teaser, the silence around Jungkook remains. A silence that now means more than any song he could release. Because it carries the weight of fear, of boundaries crossed, of a sacred space violated. In that silence lives the echo of footsteps that never should have reached his doorstep. The sound of a stranger trying to enter not just a house, but a life. Uninvited, unwelcomed, unthinkable. And while the Sasaeng was caught, while the headlines moved on, the aftermath didn't vanish so easily. Not for him. Not for the woman who sat inside, heart racing, wondering if her son had truly come home to safety, or if his war was far from over. Behind every globally adored artist is a family. And within that family are stories we never hear. Stories not written in fanfiction or dramatized on stage, but lived in quiet terror. A mother who cannot sleep. A son who now checks the locks more than his notifications. A home that once smelled like familiarity and warmth, now laced with the memory of a stranger's shadow in the hallway. Jungkook, like countless others in his position, never asked to become untouchable. He never wanted to live in a fortress of fear. But the cost of adoration, uncontrolled, obsessed, and intrusive, is exactly that. Not just burnout, not just pressure, but danger. And when that danger knocks on your front door and enters your private world, what part of you ever truly feels safe again? His mother, who has rarely been seen in public, now becomes the invisible heart of this tragedy. She is not asking for headlines. She is not demanding justice in loud ways. But in her silence, in her retreat, she tells a story more moving than any press statement. She is tired. She is afraid. And she is not alone. There are countless mothers, countless families who watch their children become products, admired, worshipped, consumed, only to see them come home, exhausted, surrounded by barriers, needing to heal from the very love that's supposed to lift them. And maybe that's the tragedy we're not ready to confront. That love, when twisted by possession, begins to resemble violence. The truth is, Jungkook's mother never wanted to be part of the story. No mother does. She only wanted her son to come home in one piece, to rest in the house where he could finally breathe again after 2 years of duty and pressure. And yet, instead of peace, she received proof that not even home is sacred anymore. That even the walls meant to protect can become glass to those who refuse to look away. We often forget that idols are sons and daughters first. That before the stage came birthdays and scraped knees and goodnight kisses. That before the choreography and photo shoots came family dinners, laughter, and lives untouched by the brutal machinery of fame. Now, those simple things, privacy, comfort, silence, feel almost luxurious. And that is the heartbreak. That Jungkook's mother had to stand in her own home and face the consequence of the world's obsession. That her son, the one who gave joy to millions, could not find enough peace to even exhale freely on the day of his return. And no one deserves that, not her, not him, not anyone. And so, as the lights on this story begin to dim, the only thing that matters now is this: that we hear her, even if she never speaks. That we honor the request hidden in every trembling breath and sleepless night. Please stop. He just wants to rest. If we can't respect that, then maybe we never truly deserved him at all. Will the cameras step back? Will the fans draw a line between love and obsession? Will the industry, the well-oiled machine that profits off proximity and parasocial intimacy, finally ask itself what it's been creating all this time? Because this isn't just about one Sasaeng. This is about the culture that made her feel justified, that rewarded invasiveness with views, that blurred the boundary between admiration and control, that taught a generation to equate access with affection. And somewhere in the middle of it all stands a mother, silent, invisible, left to carry the weight that no fan ever sees. She doesn't care about trends. She doesn't read the comments. Her concern isn't how many views her son's new video gets. Her concern is whether her door is locked, whether the footsteps she hears outside at night belong to someone who loves her son too much in the wrong way. In a world where fans claim to know everything about their idols, it's easy to forget what they don't know. They don't know the color of the hallway lights Jungkook walks through when he gets home. They don't know the sound of his voice when he calls out, "Iyama, I'm home." They don't know how many times she sat alone in that house, praying he's okay. They don't know how it feels when that house, their refuge, is no longer safe. There is a strange cruelty in how the world demands authenticity from idols, and yet punishes them for needing boundaries. Jungkook has given authenticity in his music, in his vulnerability, in every tear shed on stage. But when he asks for a locked door, a moment to rest, a mother to hold him without fear, he is denied. There is something deeply broken in a culture that cries with him during ballads but breaks his windows in real life. And it isn't just about Jungkook. It never was. He is a symbol now, a reflection of the price so many pay in silence. For every story that makes headlines, there are dozens we never hear. Homes watched,